Hi City Kids, it's Els here. Hopefully you've already watched the video from Jamie. He's still stuck in the woods, in the jungle, and HQ trying to help him. Often we're not the most helpful, but we're doing our best. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about Jesus' return, because that's what we've been hearing about today. So Jesus has promised that he's going to return. And when he does, it's going to be quite different to when he came last time. So he's not going to die on a cross again. He's not going to come as a baby. In fact, it says in 1 Thessalonians, the book that we've been reading, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, mine's on page 1388. If you've got this version of the Bible, it says, the Lord himself will come down from heaven. There will be a loud command with the voice of the archangel and with the trumpet call of God. This is in chapter 4, verse 16. Wow, so it's going to be big and loud, and actually everyone at that point will realize that Jesus is king. Sometimes maybe people who you know don't realize that Jesus is king, and that's where we're at the moment. But when Jesus comes back, everyone will realize that he is the king. Now, this is something that is so exciting for us, something that we can really look forward to, because when Jesus comes back, he's going to make all of the wrong things right. And it says in the Bible, later on in Revelation, it talks about that God is going to wipe every tear from our eye. He's going to make all the wrong things right. So this is a sad person with lots of tears, not spots. All of the pain is going to go. God is going to make everything new. So everything that is sad and bad and wrong is going to go. Pain is going to go forever. And that God is going to make everything new. We're going to get new bodies. And there's going to be a new heavens and a new earth. Wow, so that's something that we can really look forward to. It's very exciting. Jesus says that we need to be ready for this. That we don't know when he's coming back, so we need to be ready for when he does. So we're not going to know when, but Jesus says to be ready, to be alert. So what can you do to be ready? Well, Paul in 1 Thessalonians, we're going to look at it again, this time chapter 5, he gives us some tips. So I'm going to read from verse 5, and it says, you are all people who belong to the light. So he's talking to believers. So he's saying, if you're a believer, you belong to the light. You belong to the day. We do not belong to the night or to the darkness. So we should not be like other people. We should not be sleeping, but we should be awake and have self-control. Those who sleep, sleep at night. Those who get drunk at night. But we belong to the day. So we should control ourselves. We should wear faith and love to protect us, and the hope of salvation should be our helmet. Right, well, just got to pop something on for this bit. Here we go. I'm hearing Paul, hearing what he's got to say to the Thessalonians, and he said, you need to stay awake, so I'm not going to sleep anymore. Putting on my helmet. This is my helmet of hope. Can you see hope? And we need to wear faith. Oh, this is love. Wear love and wear faith. Now, so faith, first of all, trusting in God. Now, if you've not already seen the video from last week, all about trusting in God that Jeff did, I would really recommend watching that one, because that's a really good one to start with. We don't need to worry about anything else before we trust in God. So I'd recommend, first of all, watching that video if you haven't seen last week's. It is fantastic. And then for those of you who have already seen that one, once you've put your trust in God, then we can choose to turn our back on sin. We can choose to be loving, to be in the day and not in the night, that we can be awake and not asleep. Now, do you think Paul actually meant that we need to stay awake all the time and not go to sleep? No, I think he means we don't need to be dozy Christians. So that means we shouldn't be Christians who aren't really following Jesus. We need to be ones who are turning our backs on sin and saying we're gonna say goodbye to sin. So there may be some things in your life that you need to stop doing that you know is sinful. Maybe it's things when you know that you want to, I don't know, punch your brother every time they ask for something, or I don't know, you lie every time someone asks you to do something or asks you to tell the truth. I don't know what it is, but you can ask God to help and he will do that. Then the next thing that Paul says, so we don't need to stay awake all the time, but we need to make sure we're not dozy Christians. So we've talked about faith. Next thing is love. That's the other thing on my jacket that I've got here. Love. It says actually in the chapter 5, verse 11, so comfort each other, or encourage one another and give each other strength. Build each other up, just as you are doing now. So, what could we do to do that? Maybe we could pray for each other. That's a really good thing. Maybe we could encourage each other. Maybe encourage the people who you live with. Maybe your mum or your dad or your brother or sister, if you've got brothers or sisters. Maybe it's being thankful to them, building them up. Or maybe you could send someone a message or a card or an email, or however you want to get in touch with them. If you can't see them, to encourage them, to give them courage. You can do that. So that is love. So you're going to love, and you've got faith. And the last thing was the helmet, that for the hope of salvation. Here we go. Here's our hope of salvation, our helmet. So we can remember that whatever happens in this life, if we trust in Jesus, we can be sure that our hope is in him, and nothing can take that away from us. This hope is what protects us from being discouraged. So sometimes we might feel like, oh, I feel sad about something. I feel discouraged about something. But we don't need to be discouraged or despaired beyond hope, because our hope is in Jesus. And the most scary thing, I think, can be death. And in Jesus, we don't need to be scared of death anymore. So, Paul's suggestion for us to be ready for Jesus' return is to have faith, to have love, and to have hope. And all of those things come in Jesus. So, isn't that good news? Accept Jesus, put on love, faith, hope, and you'll be ready for Jesus to return. Okay, have a great week, guys. And remember, you are still allowed to go to sleep.